Hey there, friends. By now, most of you have heard about the very odd turn of events at the Orlando shooting yesterday. I waited to put something out till today because I knew something else had to be coming out on this. The facts as they were released were very strange, did not make any sense. And now I'm glad I waited because, oddly enough, it was the same shooter who shot somebody earlier in the day who came on later back to the same scene, shot a reporter, part of a news crew, and then, later on, a woman and her 9-year-old daughter. An Orlando television reporter was among the dead in a shooting spree in Florida that killed 3 on Wednesday while covering one of the shootings. One person is in custody, a 19-year-old. He has been arrested and charged with murder in connection to a shooting Wednesday morning. The killer is expected to be charged in 4 other shootings that occurred later in the day, including the killing of the Spectrum News 13 journalist. The killer has a lengthy criminal history that includes gun charges, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, and assault with a deadly weapon. Once again, we're going to be sitting here talking about another person who was either let out free with no bail or was just let out at some point, pleading down to lesser charges. Clearly, with these types of charges, this person was a threat to society, and once again, our court system decides that it's better for this person to be released and threaten more people on the street. It all started when deputies responded to the 6100 block of Hialeah Street around 11 a.m. Wednesday, where they located a woman in her 20s who was shot and died from her injuries. At 4:05, they received 911 calls about another shooting at that very same location and another one nearby. 2 journalists, a photographer and a reporter, were on the scene to cover the homicide from 11 o'clock that morning, and they were shot in their vehicles while covering this story. Officials said that the vehicle that the journalists were in was almost in the exact same spot as the vehicle that the lady was shot in at 11 a.m. earlier that morning by the same shooter. Shortly after that shooting of the journalist, police went to a scene of a 3rd shooting and found a woman on Harrington Street and her 9-year-old daughter were shot inside and both died. What a horrible and tragic turn of events. I have to repeat this. We can't cover all these types of shootings and killings the same way. Just like I was pointing to gang-related or wannabe gang-related type shootings that happened in New Orleans, and I believe it was in Memphis, this is not a gang-related shooting. This is certainly not. This is a person, I don't think you would classify them necessarily as a sociopath. This person is probably a psychopath because they killed a 20-year-old at 11 a.m. This person returns to the scene of his very own murder from 5 hours earlier that day and kills 2 other completely random people that are not associated in any way with the person that he killed, and they weren't doing anything other than covering the story, kills those people or shoots at those people, and then leaves that scene and goes and kills a mother and a 9-year-old daughter in some random house down the street. This is not necessarily what you would consider a sociopath, hell-bent on killing as many people as possible, because in many cases they will take their own life or they die in a hail of bullets. And this person could have killed way more people during that day at that 11 a.m. shooting, and they chose not to. This strikes me more as a psychopath, someone who is almost like a serial killer, like a person who is trying to kill people but wants to get away with it. Although this is a really odd way to get away with this kind of a crime, especially returning to the scene of your own murder that you committed 5 hours earlier. We have to focus on the root causes and figure out, learn why, and learn how to fix, or at least attempt to fix, people's minds so they don't get to this point. Because again, if we approach them all the exact same way, we're lying to ourselves and we're kidding ourselves if we think that we can fix any of these issues by banning guns or implementing stricter gun laws. I would also like to add, before I complete this video, that there is a cry right now for constitutional carry, if you want to call it that, permitless carry in Florida right now. There's a heavy, strong push, especially by gun owners of America and other folks who are pro-Second Amendment people in the state of Florida. I find it very odd that this type of story, it manages to happen at a time when we're looking to have more people carrying firearms in Florida and more people being able to conceal those firearms without having to ask for permission from the government to do so.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's on my armor!